Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this special planning commission meeting, where we have invited representatives from West Reading so that we can discuss items that are of to the benefit of both of our municipalities. In the room with me today are Danny DeCoyo, Peter Rye, James Harris, Christopher Trate, all planning commission members. I am Wayne Beeler. I am the chairman of the planning commission. And on Zoom, we have planning commission member Nelson DeLeon and planning commission vice chairman Wilson Fiesel. Also in the room with us, surprised how many people are there. Also in the room with us, we have Maritza. I'm sorry, I forgot your last name.
Liza.
And you are the downtown coordinator?
Yeah, city core manager is the title, downtown.
Okay. Donna Reed, president of city council. District 6, representative of city council, Chris Miller. From West Reading, we have Philip Ward, from who is the chairman of their planning commission, and Ryan. I'll let that to him. If you need it louder. And Ryan, who is the president of West Reading Borough Council. I want to. James. Oh. And yes, Jamie's with us all the time, so I forget now. Jamie, you were District 2?
Yep, Jamie Byers Jr., District 2 City Councilman and liaison for the Planning Commission.
So, yeah, so I forget. I sometimes think he's a planning commission member now. So, and then also with us on Zoom is Jamar Kelly, who is the financial director for the city. So, I'm actually really surprised to see everyone here today, and I really appreciate it. The first item that we have up for discussion is the comprehensive plan, and I will first toss it over to Jerome to explain where we are in that process. And then I would like the representatives from West Reading to talk a little bit about theirs.
Actually, I'm going to let Simon carry the ball on this one for the introduction of the comprehensive plan and let everyone know where we're at with that process.
Yeah, great.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman and my colleague. In regards to comprehensive plan as a city at this point, we are starting to think about that, especially considering the fact that our last comprehensive plan was approved a little bit of time back. Our approach to the comprehensive plan is we would like to basically start from the bottom up. And at this point, as we speak, we are working on a grant that we are going to submit in this coming month, so that once we get funding, we should start now working on our comprehensive plan in the January, February coming year. The reason why we are taking that approach is at this point, following our discussions and the initiatives we have had in the past, we felt it would be valuable for us to first push our downtown strategic plan that is going to start shaping a path for us, revitalize some of the partnerships that we have, pick up, identify some existing partnership, so that when the coming of the comprehensive plan is due, it is simply going to follow up the step that the downtown plan has taken or has started. So in terms of at the level we are, that is something that we are starting on, and we would like to have that at least done most of the next year, 2025, so that by the time the year is coming to an end, we should have a copy that we can stand with as the city of Reading.
As Simon mentioned, we have recommended for approval to the city council our downtown strategic plan, which city council will be taking a look at very soon. And in that strategic plan, there are two specific areas that are so actually three specific areas, but two areas that are very important with our collaboration with West Reading. The first one, of course, is the Penn Avenue, Penn Street corridor, and developing a collaboration with West Reading and working out to see if we can help each other solve the problems that we have on either side of the river. And then also, this downtown strategic plan also has a large component talking about development of opportunities at the riverfront. And I suspect that West Reading has a few ideas concerning their riverfront. So if Mr. Wirt, if you're ready.
He's gonna have much more to say than me.
I'd like to introduce your comprehensive plan and what you think are the big points and how we might be able to help you with that.
Sure. So I want to be specific that when we refer to a comprehensive plan, as it is laying out legally in by state law versus what we've adopted, which is it's not a comprehensive plan for the entire borough, but it is our business district and some of the ancillary areas around Penn Avenue. So including Buttonwood, and also starting to grab some of the properties down around the Palmer properties. Mainly what we focused on is Penn Avenue, all the way from the railroad bridge, all the way to the Wyomissing Borough line, so that encompasses all of it. And we have, so the downtown plan that we adopted 2 years ago.
It was 2000. December 2000. December, sorry, 2021.
2021. Brian has it pulled up here. We worked with our consultants over at Dirk and Edson from Lidditz on it. And it was funded through some partnerships with the Wyomissing Foundation and the Henry Johnson Foundation, and through our private foundation that puts on the events. By the way, on the 21st, please come for Fall Fest.
The road we promise will be paved by then.
Are you sure? Are you sure? We have been.
I went down to look at the milling myself on Second Avenue this morning, and yes, we are. Monday begins the paving process.
Good.
Yeah, sorry.
Bravo,
I think
congratulations.
you guys are doing great compared to, I mean, seeing it from huge.
That's what you think.
There.
Yeah.
You're not getting beat up by your business
You're not,
residents
like,
and
getting
everybody.
destroyed
that
every
comes to
day.
Second Avenue.
Yes, our business owners they've been there since March doing, if you've driven through Penn Avenue at all, you know, especially at night. Our business owners are really suffering because of it, because it's a public right of way, because the PUC is involved, we don't own the road, the whole 9 yards. Sorry to get off the topic a little bit here, but
It's true. Johanni's office has heard a lot about it.
Can't imagine.
I'm sure she, yeah, and so has Judy's office as well. Yeah, because we keep telling them, we can't do anything. We can just implore upon them that this is very serious, they need to get the lead out. And yeah. And then that's what we have to tell our business owners and our residents. It's like we are in contact with DGI constantly, but the scope of the project is thus that we don't own the road even. You know, it's a
So
state.
everything's gonna be repaid.
They
this
promised
coming-
us without a shadow of a doubt.
They had to restore it to its original condition, because it was recently paved within the last 5 years. You know, that's one of our
Isn't that
ordinances.
always?
So it was in the last 5 years that it was actually paved, late 2020, right towards the end of, that year. All the fun that it brought with, but yeah, they had to restore it back. So when they dug out all the trenches, they had to fill them all back in with concrete and rebar because Penn Avenue is reinforced underneath. So they went back, cut out everything that they had just replaced with all the piping, put in the concrete and rebar, and now they're milling it all down and paving. Starting.
It's awful. It won't be when it's done, but anyway, back on topic a little bit. So, I don't want to go into all of the dirty details of it to completely bore you. Hopefully, if you want to look, if you want to get a copy, we'll be more than happy to share it out. There's lots of nice, pretty pictures in it, lots of visioning or what have you. And I think I spoke about this the last time that we met earlier in the summer, in where the original plan was not to have this be the official, well, the official roadmap of the borough. And then Borough Council was very happy with the result, and then we decided to thusly adopt it as the actual economic development roadmap for the downtown, so that we could do things like solicit grant funding and share it with our elected representatives, both in Washington and Harrisburg, and say, listen, this is the direction you officially want to go in. And of course, a plan like this should have some form of checklist or what have you, with some sort of a timeline. Now, if you've ever worked in anything like this, timelines get blown away the first year. Here's your 2-year, here's your 5-year, here's your 10-year. Well, 18 months in, you've already not hit, any of your timelines. So you have to be realistic there, and we are. So there's always low-hanging fruit. So we started with the low-hanging fruit and started checking off boxes. What can we tweak in the zoning ordinance? Can we improve public lighting? What is the state of the public infrastructure? It's things like the lamp poles, the park benches, the bus stops, like all of that stuff. The plantings, the street trees, the sidewalks, like is it being heaved anywhere? Because, we redid the sidewalks on Penn Avenue in 2002. So, none of us are getting any younger, nor is the sidewalk. Those were things that were a little bit easier. But then, of course, there's bigger ticket items. Like, so for instance, right now, like we're getting quite close to it. The plan recommended that we look at our zoning ordinance from a comprehensive standpoint and look at it through the lens of what some might refer to as form-based codes. You know what that is from zoning parlance. It's not based on use, it's based on form, but you do a hybridized version of it where it's use and form together. That's a very large project. And we are about 80% of the way through that. Now, in addition to that, we also decided to go in and take a look at our sign ordinance, because your sign ordinance is always a moving target. And especially in an urbanized municipality, your sign ordinance is constantly like being challenged or needing of updates, or are we okay with this sign? Or someone on Penn Avenue wants to do some big, like flashy, monster that's not, what we really wanted, but we didn't anticipate something like this, so it had to get approved, and now you're dealing with this thing, and hopefully, they are reasonable enough to want to take it down and work with you. So that's what we're finishing off right now, and that literally involves going like word by word in planning commission meetings. Like, does the comma belong there? Does the hyphen belong here? Word for word. Not in working sessions, in planning commission meetings. It sounds awful, and it kind of is, but good governance, in my opinion, is in the details. And that's why I tell people, if you're really here for the right reasons, you will suffer the most god-awful, boring stuff, so that someone later on, 20 years down the road, will benefit from your hard work.
Unless they want to rewrite it.
Unless they want to rewrite it and have that.
Yeah.
So we're slowly just checking the boxes off on that plan. And the thing about it is that gets everybody behind the plan, because they feel like progress is being made. We're not just spinning wheels and continuing to talk about the plan. We are implementing the plan. And that incremental checking of the boxes, if you will, can feel really good, because you can see the differences. Your constituents can know that you are not just, a think tank, putting another study on the shelf, if you will, like you're actually, because from a philosophical standpoint, you know, I've been on the planning commission for almost 20 years in West Reading, and I didn't know anything about planning when I got on. I just was a citizen volunteer, and I was interested in improving my community, and I just went to Albright, took all the courses over there, CELG and what have you, which is a wonderful resource. And I realized that planning is proactive. I mean, the word is a proactive word, but planning commissions typically react to plans versus be proactive planners. And I think, you know, that mindset is really, really, really important in order to get the ball rolling when it comes to economic redevelopment, because it takes so long. You know, it takes so long to implement a big plan, like decades, you know, and we've been chipping away at it. I know people like to point fingers at us and say, oh, great success, but we feel only so successful. We feel like we could be doing a much better job in certain areas versus others. But at the same token, we appreciate the opinions that people have of us, but it takes a truly focused, dedicated effort, and everybody understands the direction that you're going in, so that as elected officials change terms, as new administrations come in, you say, but we're not here to talk about that anymore, because this has already been approved. This is the direction we're going in. Like, we can tweak it, we can change it, but to a large degree, we still have to go into this direction. Like, you have to pick a direction, because there's many directions to pick. And once you pick the one that you think works best for you, it's kind of like picking up, like choosing your home. Like, you can buy any home anywhere in any neighborhood if you can afford it, but is it the right one for you? Because when you make that decision, well, you're kind of stuck with it for a little while. At least you gotta like move all your stuff in and put your head down on the pillow.
How does that work with change of folks on council? Obviously, different for a manager form of government, but
It helps having a fit.
how does it, you know, if there's a whole changeover of elected officials, are they constrained? Are they required to follow it? Or can they say, that was fun, we're gonna go a different direction? I mean, I'm just asking.
Yeah, sure. I mean, maybe in the borough governance is perhaps a little bit different because we've got overlap with our planning commission and elected officials. So for instance, on our planning commission, we've got 3 council members. Now that's a little bit,
Yeah, that's
that's a little,
because we just have liaison.
That's 3 out of 7, so.
Wow.
yeah. So you have 3 advocates typically that can come to the council table and say, hey, you know, you can look at the minutes for yourself about what we talked about. If you have any questions, you know, here we are to answer your questions. But regardless, you know, your liaisons, if they truly understand what the message is and you're bringing it back to, you know, city council from the planning commission, first of all, it's got to be built on trust. City council has got to trust the planning commission, and new people that get elected and come in have to understand that trust bond is there. And that when you're getting an official recommendation from your planning commission, now I know you folks have planning approval here, but nonetheless, things like adopting a downtown plan is a recommendation that'll come out of your planning commission. That level of trust should be there. If folks have questions, be proactive as council members and ask before the meeting. You know, I'm a high school teacher by trade, and I tell the kids all the time, listen, no one, you know, the elected officials in the room are going to understand what I want to say. School board members are the ones that have the worst jobs in elected governance in Pennsylvania, probably in other states as well. And they get beat up all the time, all day long. And what drives me nuts at a school board meeting, no matter what the district is parents come during public comment to beat up the school board. As an elected official, maybe this is just me, that puts me on the defensive right away. Because I feel like someone's trying to put me in a gotcha moment. They're trying to string me up, they're trying to stick me to the wall. I always tell parents, listen, if you want things done, send a private email to that board member, send a private email to that superintendent. When you try to string them out, it's insulting. You know, they can't even receive stipends. There's
Yeah,
zero money. They're doing it for the betterment of the children of the district. You know, but it goes the same way with city council or council, what have you. You know, there's a way on how to air your grievances without making it look like it's a therapy session. You know, and so I feel like planning commission, city council, if we all understand, everyone understands that we're on the same page, everyone continues to go back to the plan and say, listen, we may disagree with things, but this plan has been vetted, this plan has been discussed, this plan has been updated and drafted and re-updated and redrafted. And we really think that this is the direction we can go in. There's grant funding available, our elected officials in Harrisburg are on board, our elected officials in Washington are on board. And let's start checking the boxes and getting stuff done. Because I think I said this, earlier in the summer. It's a pain point for all of us here in Berks County when we look at Lancaster, when we look at Westchester, when we look at Allentown. Those of us that have been here nearly all of our lives, I left for college and I came back, that's it. And the sore thumb keeps getting poked for us here in Berks County, and it's annoying. To be very blunt about it, it's annoying. And
Amen.
we don't. It's annoying, and I want, the natural beauty of the city that sits right next to the mountain, the natural beauty of the city that sits right next to the river, Lancaster sits in a farm field. That's it. Allentown sits in like a little valley. There's nothing, we've got this natural beauty that surrounds the city and its inner suburbs. And, I don't know how, we move the ball forward, but I feel like, if everybody understood, it's, Chris this and funding that, but there's no magic bullets. There's no silver bullets for this stuff. Everybody has a little bit more trust, a little bit more, proactive visioning.
Go ahead, Jamar.
So, sorry, I feel like I'm in church, and I'm definitely the choir and you're preaching. But, so it starts with meetings like this today and us being serious and continuing to work at it and literally doing everything you just enumerated exactly how you did. And it's been sorely lacking. And I'm so glad to hear it from a neighbor and a leader who has both set an example, but at the same time recognizes that, hey, we still got our own troubles over here too. Like, don't think we're just sitting on our laurels, enjoying our successes. Like, no, we have challenges too. And so recognizing that in ways that we can grow and go together is critical, because there's no panacea, but we all have to be in this together. And I think that's a different model than Berks County is used to, and I say that respectfully. But having heard from multiple, important stakeholders in the county, we're just not used to working together. But if we can get over that hurdle and over whatever past squabbles, and just start getting the work done, adopting the important plans and implementing them, there's more than enough money out there. And there are important stakeholders that want to see us win, all of us, the region. But we've got to get serious, and we've got to get on the same page. And literally, as you said, stop the public sniping. Do your research, bring your proposals forward on policy, and let's get it all done. And as the mayor said about a year ago in his inauguration, we've got to dream. We've got to dream again. I went to Westchester, best 6 years of my life. I would love to see that in this region, but we've got to get a lot more serious than we have been. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Donna, to your point about how to continue this on through, different planning commission members, different councils, I think a lot of it has to do with having somebody who's passionate about this. Planning's a slog. Planning sucks.
Oh, it is.
Like, there's a reason that I actually don't sit on the planning commission, but thank you for inviting me anyway. But at the end of the day, you need to have some passion behind these types of projects. I feel is our passion. When I was initially put on council back in 2020, I was appointed onto council back in August, and this was still in the works. It wasn't completed until November, but one of our immediate conversations from Phil dealt with this. It was one of the first emails that he sent me was our downtown master plan and how excited he was about it. And the more that you read about it, like I said, getting into the minutia of planning and everything, it is a slog. This is the exciting part of everything. This is like, you know, planning finally come to life and in pictures and fully realize that you can actually see like the future of what you're working towards. And for new council members, putting it in their laps almost immediately and having that same type of passion towards a project like this, like I said, this is the fun part. This is the part where you finally get to see like, this could be the future of West Reading. How do we enact something like this? You know, when we purchased the Schweitzer Service Center property this past year and took a bit of a leap and we're very bullish on the future of that area, we took out $1.25 million to be able to purchase that and potentially renovate it, potentially have it redeveloped. That's all within our plan. When I mentioned it and I brought it up at our council meetings, it had to, I literally took excerpts from our downtown master plan. I took pictures from our downtown master plan and showed how the decisions that our council was making, that the, you know, the fact that, yeah, we were gonna take out a lot of money for a small borough, conservatively. Yeah, we think it's still conservative, like that $6 million streetscape project would cost 10 million these days, you know, 20 years ago. But, you know, we took taking a bit of a leap of faith, but it doesn't even feel like a leap of faith when we decided to make that decision because we had this plan in place. It was so easy to point to portions of this plan and explain exactly why we were looking to invest in this property, why we were bullish on our downtown area, why we were bullish on creating either a community space and parking in the short term to redevelopment in the long term, to plan all of this out. Like, this is what gets me jazzed to be on council and to be president, because, you know, these projects are the fruits of planning to a large degree. So having people who are very excited about it and get incoming council members and new people into the city excited about it, like, that's how you generate that positivity and keep moving forward. I know it's rah-rah, but
Yeah. When your consultants worked on this plan, did they also look at like the Penn Corridor initiative? Does anybody around this table remember that? Because that was Reading, West Reading, Wyomissing.
ICGR, I was here for that.
Do you,
Right, prosperity.
that's, yeah, and there was a lot of good things in there. And Penn Carter just went away because one day we all got an email, it's not active.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of good things that were happening with that, a lot of good premises that would have taken us pretty much from City Park over to, I think, the intersection, right near the post office, right before the post office.
Yeah, that's where that.
Did, and West Reading was one of the bigger components, just as a city.
Yeah.
How, did any of those ideas factor into this?
Maybe, you know, maybe secondarily, I don't remember anything specifically in your scope.
I'm sure it's mentioned.
Because the whole premise was to tie us all together.
Yeah, back then, yeah, but you know, we also had sort of an overarching organization with the River Place folks that were sort of linking all of that together, and unfortunately, because of the recession, they went belly up. And, you know, those folks, those have been around for a little while. You know, if you don't know, back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, 2006, 2007, 2008, River Place Corporation was a nonprofit that was established by a couple of city leaders, including Mr. Whitehammer. He was a big driving the bus on that.
And Penn Carter as well.
Yeah, and former Mayor McMahon was a big supporter of that as well. I went to many meetings back then about riverfront redevelopment on both sides of the river, and plans came out by consultants, the Sasaki plan, which is still, if you look at it, it's still a good document. That's still a very useful document, and it is, you know, 2006 maybe.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's getting to almost be 2 decades old. You can still reference that plan and pull out some really, really good ideas. I mean, that's a gold standard.
Can you share it with Simon, please?
Yeah, I'm sure City Hall has their own
We
comments.
must have it.
I'm sure
planning.
planning office,
If
yeah.
not, I'm sure we have it in council
Yeah,
archive somewhere.
I'm
And
not-
I may personally have hard copies.
Yeah,
I'll
I've
have
got
to look
hard
back.
copies.
We have it in
But-
our files.
Oh, yeah.
But that was just a really excellent plan. It was just never executed, the folks, I don't know what the dynamics were, but the folks there never followed through, you know, Peter maybe a better
Well,
handle on that, why it didn't happen.
I
was
I
frustrating
have my
seeing our
opinion,
council.
you know,
Yeah.
there are lots of good plans that get developed, put in paper, but don't get acted on. And it's this sort of tendency also, of the city to make plans
Oh,
but
yeah.
don't act on the plans. I think we're really intent here on
Yeah.
changing this pattern of behavior. Staff to have plus plans, a serious plan, and expanding that citywide is good, but it's it needs to persist beyond each iteration of
And each-
mayor and council,
Exactly,
right?
there,
It needs to
therein
have some
lies the
durability.
issue.
It also needs to
But-
be revisited. In other words, there's no
Yes.
plan that's going to stand the test of time. This needs to have a process where, you know, on a yearly basis, we revise.
People
we
just don't
adjust
throw
it.
them all away, or put them on that
Yeah,
shelf.
right, it's not, it needs to persist.
Yeah. I look at
And-
the lens of like that, how large zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jamar.
Yeah, sorry, Mark.
So, no. So to the point you're making, I'm very big on like not reinventing the wheel, like dust it off if it's still actionable. Remember, so you know, these plans were created, especially the one you're referencing, I guess 2007. Then after that, the city was financially distressed for about 13 years. And newsflash to the community, hey, the city has money now. So we're in a very much different position to be able to implement these things. So it's very much like, let's have a new conversation focused on, you know, what's actionable, you know, short, medium, and long term. And that's why I keep trying to deposit the conversation around, you know, eventually we want to do a debt issuance. But what are we going to do with it? You know, what are we going to build? And so as the council president, or the rather borough president was mentioning, you know, sidewalks, you know, you commit to X millions of dollars to redo the whole sidewalk, you know, the greening of Penn Initiative, dust that one off. You know, what can we do in terms of revamping all of Penn Street beyond just what we're committed to in the 4 to 5 and 5 to 600 block as it relates to parking? You know, we have money now, like, and we have money to match with federal money, and there's a whole lot of federal money with the Infrastructure Reduction Act. That all we have to do is update the numbers, update the engineering designs in these plans, and it's really a springboard to really move us ahead in a line to get big money versus, you know, just the small ball stuff.
I think that everybody imagines a vibrancy in downtown Reading, you know, on par with Madison, right? Which means that we have West Reading, and then we have this bridge, and then we have Reading, that people will choose to go to both places. Problem still is that they are far apart, right? You can't
Because it's
stand there in
process.
West Reading and say, am I gonna walk across that bridge to get to Reading to go to this restaurant? I want to check out, but that's still you know,
And
sort
the
of a bridge too far.
reconfiguration of the West Shore bypass that's been, finalization has been moved out to 2045.
Right.
So you give both a long time to plan it, but also a long time to be challenged.
Well, yeah, that plan though, does really not do anything to unify the two.
Doesn't help a whole lot. It helps a little bit, but not much.
So,
You're right.
you know, maybe someday we would have some sort of transit bus or something
Trolley,
going between
vehicular
the two,
trolley,
so
yeah.
that.
And that was part of the Carter concept.
And that's actually one thing I wanted to bring up in the next, under the next item that, I wanted to throw out. We discussed this. We discussed something similar like this before. So we'll hold off on that, and we'll bring that up under the next discussion, next topic.
So there's, actually, I do want to ask a question though. So the whole Cloverleaf, it looks like it's within West Reading. But,
It is.
probably all,
Outside of the river's almost there.
all owned by, PennDOT anyway, it's their property.
Yep.
And, you know, there have been efforts to make some sort of signage, welcome to the city of Reading, and maintain that. Maintenance has been haphazard, right? I think this is the entry point for both city, West Reading, right into our cores. What can we do to beautify that interchange?
I think
maintain
the
it?
sign's being redesigned. Jamar, tell me, you have that up there.
Yeah. Yes. So I have good news and bad news. I'll give you the bad. I'll give you the bad news first. We've hit a wall with our district representative. And it's a no for them in terms of restoring the sign. Because there's
District five?
publication number,
Ugh,
yes. Hold
PennDOT
on.
District Five.
Yes. Hold on.
It's on racks.
I'm Jamar Kelly now. Hold on. So there's a publication that says you can't obstruct the right of way on the interchange, exits or entrances. However, I pulled aside Secretary Carroll last Friday and said, hey, listen, can we please have a discussion about this? Because there's actually a bit of gray area. And if you're willing to meet and discuss, we'd have a pitch we'd like to make to you. And I believe that the secretary has the dispensation to overrule the district representative.
Good.
So he said, just call his people and tell him Mike said to call. So we're going to get that call set up, and he's going to come out to visit, and I'll make sure I get all the right people in the room, and it
Yeah,
won't
Jamar.
to make sure that we put our best collective foot forward on that one.
So if
That's
we don't do
the-
anything, PennDOT is gonna mow it twice a year and that's all we get, right? So if we want something
Pretty
better,
much.
what are the options?
And when that sign went up, it went up to the 250th.
Yeah.
And the master gardeners, the works or the gardeners, whatever, everybody took ownership of it. Judy was actually part of that group prior to her becoming commissioner. And that
So-
worked out very well. But that's also another day and a different time, and the sign would still be there if it hadn't been run down. You know, literally run down.
Well,
For now.
that-
It was
and,
worn out.
Council President, the
Yeah.
district rep is saying there's nothing in writing anywhere showing an approval, believe it or not, to put that sign there. And that's how
Well,
he's
that
been
would
able to.
surprise me, but we can look tomorrow. We'll work together. on that.
Yeah, if you can find something, that would be amazing. But so far, and we've been at this for
Wow,
months,
amazing.
he's
Wow.
hanging his hat on, there's nothing in writing showing it was approved, so. But that's why I just took it the step higher, and went directly to the secretary.
That's amazing.
So it's not lost yet, still a little bit more patience. And when we get that meeting set up, I'll reach out both, to council president, West Reading Borough President on, participation.
Thanks, Jamar.
Well, if there's
Sure.
something that we jointly to maintain, you know, our respective faces of that intersection or however, I think that would be extraordinary.
I think I'm trying to remember now, because I tend to forget things now. Sometimes, but
You're too young.
when you teach 16-year-olds for 2 decades, you don't feel very young anyway. But the mowing had been an issue for us for a while, where we really had to sort of twist PennDOT's arm more frequently about getting it mowed and just having it look nicer. And it wasn't even just the beautification of it, it was pulling out from some of the ramps. You'd have grass sometimes, 2.5, 3 feet tall, where you literally couldn't see cars. And it was a safety issue, and we would have to call District 5 and say, you do know that if somebody gets T-boned at this ramp because the grass is too high, you're gonna be named in a suit because we don't mow it, you do.
Pretty sure we threatened to sick our codes to.
We did. Yeah, about 15 years ago, we threatened to District 5 with local codes violations. They said, we're the state, you can't, we're not subject to that. We said, well, then we'll see you in Commonwealth Court. So start
Yeah.
mowing.
So you're the one that put him in the bad mood.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's either that or the county coming to us asking us to take over the streetlights.
I like it.
Yeah, what's the story?
The county owns them.
I know.
The county owns
They own them all.
They constantly want us to take them and we, no, thank you.
That's entirely owned by the county. So
Entirely
everybody
owned by the
knows,
county.
none of our,
Which streetlights you talking?
all along the bypass.
When they get,
West
we
Shore.
get clipped all the time and knocked down.
All the ones that
ramps.
aren't working,
about?
they're all owned by the county, they're the jurisdiction of the county. And what's happened, a lot of them, correct me if you've heard differently, because they're so old, a lot of the conduits have rotted out, have shorted out, accidents, weather, and it's gonna be a significant investment to redo it, and I think there's some hesitancy to redo it with knowing that West Shore bypass and
Exactly right.
Warren Street will be
Divergent.
redone. So it's like what, and that's no excuse for Warren Street, because that could be redone, those could be redone. But the West Shore, which is both of our municipalities, primarily West Riding, but still.
It's unfortunately, I know what the county's thinking, I get it, you don't want to spend money, but we've all driven it.
Yes.
Once the sun goes down and you are driving the West Shore bypass, as you pass the Lancaster Avenue exit on the left-hand side to go down, all the lights there are out.
Yeah,
All the lights, and it's been like that for years,
yeah.
and I can't see how anybody,
How's that okay?
it's not.
It's not.
But the
it's
county
a
said,
county.
well, they're gonna redo the road at some point,
Exactly.
and so we probably shouldn't spend the money on, excavating the conduit up and replacing it because it's gonna get re-excavated anyway when they do the bypass, but 2045?
You think they could at least do solar ones?
Excellent.
And the other thing is that the rebuilding plan to make it 6 lanes is 30 years long.
Yeah.
Right, that's a 30-year plan, once
So
they
you're
start
going to
executing.
2055 now.
I mean, this might, right here, might be an issue, we can collaborate together, going to the commissioners and saying, listen, you know it's an issue, we know it's an issue, we've gotta live with
Very
it,
true.
our constituents have to live with it. Every car that drives past it, whether they live in Reading or live in West, it doesn't matter, this is a safety issue. Realize you just raised taxes, we realize things cost, but at the end of the day, all three of you were elected to do a certain job, and we have to take care of our infrastructure, just like you have to take care of your infrastructure.
And they were put there for a reason originally.
To illuminate the roadway.
Right. The fact that they're there and don't do that is.
It's been forever.
And when you
It's a
get to the yard,
safety
you get the
issue.
traffic stats. I absolutely get the traffic stats when we collectively can go to do the art.
With open arms, because it's an irritant, because it's not only a safety issue, but but it looks, just from if I don't know Reading, if I'm driving up from Philly on 176 through Reading, like, why is it all dark here? Why are all the streetlights out? What's going on here? It's like the
They can't-
zombies have come.
Can't afford the electric bill.
Like, why, it's not one, it's not two, it's like 15 in a row.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's not a good look for someone that might be passing through and saying, oh, my friend mentioned that he's up here and looks at business opportunities and around here, but geez Louise, like, it's like a cave.
It's the worst section too, where you have to pull in from Lancaster Avenue. The whole thing is bad.
It's not a good look, and it's a safety issue. I mean, it's like a double whammy. But I'd be more than happy to, or us, more than happy to sit down and beat up the commissioners a little bit. Of course, Kevin Barnhart, former mayor of West Reading, is, yeah, right, and we can put a bug in his ear as well. But everybody
Put
knows.
like a timeline on that, so we actually start working on it.
Sure, I don't know, what do you think, Ron? We could reach out, I can an email or, to Kevin to try to put a bug in the commissioner's ears, start
But I
talking
mean, do you
about.
wanna do, I think it's gonna be more effective to do a solid presentation, because
Right.
I think everybody who drives, the thousands upon thousands
You-
of cars, everybody feels it. And if we can do a solid presentation with stats and traffic, traffic incidents and all that sort of thing, that's gonna go a long way jointly, West Reading and City.
We have to target our police departments for incident
Sure.
reports, so we can get that data, of course, on our end.
Jamar, did you wanna?
And I was just gonna say, don't forget visuals, and and I and I like how you play, counselor. So don't forget, in my student government days, I'd make sure we showed up squad deep. So at least 5 of your members of council, 5 of ours, plus some residents doing public comment. Strength in numbers. Always remember.
I love how you put that, squad D.
But I think this is such a huge issue for everyone around here. How many times you're with someone in a car saying, what's wrong with the streetlights?
I get the question all the time,
Constantly.
all the time, because they assume it's a West
Beyond
West Reading
safety
issue.
is
or-
like-
I always assumed that PennDOT owned those.
Yeah.
lights.
No,
It turns out it's the county.
Nope.
Count.
The county has asked us, the lights in the Cloverleaf, they've asked us multiple times if we would be willing to take them over, and we just always tell them, you must be crazy. No thank you. Now they do replace those, the ones that get knocked down, they were just a crew out, those crew out there last week.
Well, those conduits aren't screwed up. as well
No,
as the long-
not at all, but the ones from the Cloverleaf going east toward Lancaster Ave, those are all they're all out. Now, conversely, if you're going past the Cloverleaf, going toward North Wyomissing Boulevard, some of those are out as well.
More and more all the time.
Right, but then you get down there, they have replaced some of those with brand new, updated LED Cobra lights. Some of them are great. If you get,
It's like pick and choose.
yeah, if you get off North Wyomissing going toward Target and you look up, you will see those poles there are like brand new poles with the light heads are much more updated.
But
And
if you go towards Warren Street, it's a different
right,
story.
yeah,
How much
so
does the county own all of it, the whole length of?
unsure how far up it goes. I definitely know within the jurisdictions of both sides of the river they do. Now, as you probably get away from the city and through Wyomissing, the state probably takes those over. Now, perhaps maybe we're talking about state ownership in some of the poles that I just mentioned, and that's why,
So we need to narrow it.
and that's why. So, but, there is money for these things, and the county should be willing to entertain grant funding and so forth, just like we do, because it's a piece of crucial infrastructure. I know the county doesn't own a lot of infrastructure. They literally own one road. County Welfare Road is the one road that they own to the prison, and that's it. But this other stuff, I know it's probably buried in a county budget line item somewhere, but they don't think about it a lot because, it's not, at the top of their forefront, other than the prison maybe. That's a piece of infrastructure that they definitely do own. But, yeah.
Shots fired. I would, one humble suggestion in terms of the planning aspect of what you have going on. Certainly not this year, but either next year or within the next 2 years, we could do a multi-municipal, multimodal application. And if you do it through PennDOT, we would have all the engineering studies, and that's a $3 million pot of funding. And it requires a match, but I think between the 3 of us, we should be able to come up with that. Because it covers on the safety angle, plus it's traffic and pedestrian. Not so much pedestrian, but the traffic angle.
Is that something that Mr. Demerwing can help us with?
Yes, Jim Cadell.
Are there any other bigger pieces to your plan for West Reading? Out maybe further into the future, large paradigm shifting sorts of things.
Potentially.
Parking.
We got close. we got close. About a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we got very close. The West Reading Shopping Center, the owner of the West Reading Shopping Center, some Chip Lutz. It is. And Chip Lutz owns it, Back Nine Realty is his company. Very nice man. If you know Chip, he's a very avid golfer. Native Berks County and owns it. So it's not some sort of like outside entity outside the county. They don't really care. Him and I have had, I don't even know how many meetings. I can't even tell you, but countless meetings about trying to move that forward and getting something done there, a substantial redevelopment. Many different iterations of many different plans have been proposed. We tried to get the county Industrial Redevelopment Authority involved, and they were on board. They wanted to do a TIF, tax incremental financing for a parking garage that would have been on site. And right when everything was starting to get like lined up, inflation, labor costs, material costs, borrowing costs, and everything was dead in the water. Like we all know what happened 2.5, 3 years ago with all that stuff. Everything within the span of about 3 months doubled. Lumber prices, you know, you name it, everything went up. So all of the financing that they had lined up was not workable any longer because the scope of their return had now completely changed. And if that ever happens, it'll be a complete redo, mixed use, retail on the first floor, apartments above, that kind of thing, parking garage, what have you. So it's always on our radar. The parking's always on our radar, but we've conducted parking studies. We paid, Walker Parking for 2 parking studies, and they both came back and said, you don't have a parking problem. You've got a parking perception problem.
I don't want to pay $1.50 an hour for parking problem.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's what it is.
Right. There's very short windows where it's actually at capacity. And they did the counts, they did the numbers, they're the experts, they're the consultants. Now, again, parking is always a moving target. Do you have enough spaces? Do you not have enough spaces? That kind of thing. But additionally, we're a little, what I'm about to say, we're very vague on this next thing that I'm about to talk about. There may or there may not be a very large opportunity for us to partner with Palmer. Because we all know what happened down there. And they've moved their operations out of the borough. They moved all their operations over to Wyomissing. They got their approvals to expand their facility over there. They will no longer be manufacturing anything on site there, candy-wise, chocolate-wise, 0. We've been in talks with them, and they're very amenable to continuing the conversation with us about a couple of different options as to how to move those parcels forward. And we would like to see, we've always, and even the Sasaki plan in 2006 identifies that region as an opportunity for substantial redevelopment because it's so close to the riverfront.
Eagle Works.
Yeah, I think there was supposed to be a kids museum down there, and the plug got pulled real quick in 2008 with the recession. So we are tentatively very excited about them. They've always been a very, very, very good partner with us, the leadership team down there, who are sadly still struggling with dealing with the emotional toll of the explosion. So when we talk with them, it's obvious that they're still rattled by that to a very large degree. Their leadership team, they've been solicited by outside groups in order to purchase it, and they declined all of those offers because they're not
property.
To purchase the property because they are not happy with the ideas that are being floated because it's a concern about the legacy. You let go of these properties because of a tragedy and then the company profits monetarily. They are not interested in that at all. Totally not interested at all. And they let us expressly know that they keep saying no, as they're getting solicited to sell it. to different people that have different ideas for different things. So on the zoning side of things, we've had to look at tightening up our zoning to make sure that whatever happens down there is accomplishing our economic development goals or what we would like to see happen closer down toward the river. And speaking about the river, because I see it's on here, I might as well transition to that if you're okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, I'll say this about the river, front on both sides. You know, woefully underutilized on both sides, right? Woefully underutilized. Which is such a great opportunity, you know. Plans have been floated. I know if anyone's been around for a while, you know, the guy from Baltimore that wanted to put, you know, what stadium down there
Oh, yeah.
and everything. I mean,
Who then got indicted because he was.
and then got indicted, right? You know, we've seen grandiose plans like that, which was like, you couldn't even comprehend why someone would have plunk that kind of money here. I mean, yeah, great, but it seems a little, you know,
It was really nice.
yeah, Reading Phillies were gonna play down by the river.
Yeah, and it wasn't, the whole thing was very unusual,
Very unusual.
and it wasn't capitalized to start, so there was nothing, it was all sketches.
It's all napkin math.
Yes.
And so we looked a couple of years ago, so the borough owns a substantial part of the riverfront. So there, we have site control to a large degree down there, that's our, what we call our conservation area. A couple of years ago, former council president and I, we looked into what it would take to start to look at getting some of that redeveloped, and you run into a problem right away, right off the bat, and that's the public utility right of ways. So you've got Norfolk Southern down there, you've got Med Ed down there that's got some large towers, and everything above and below those lines are, they control. So if you want to put a building underneath those lines, well, you usually kind of can. So, you know, putting buildings down onto the riverfront on our side of things anyway becomes really challenging, especially because of those public rights of way. The state with the highway, of course, also has rights down there as well. So it's literally sort of like a grassy island that you can't do much other than perhaps maybe recreate,
Passive recreation.
passive recreation, right?
We have like a fishing dock down there that,
Yeah, that's a
you know,
neat
it's kind of
place.
underneath
Yeah.
the bridge.
What's the name of that? That's not.
Oh, let's-
Bertollet.
let's-
Bertollet.
Is there a way we could possibly like enlarge that fishing dock, maybe like stretch it out more into the river? Or just like, yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you one thing, and maybe someone in here is familiar with this. I know the first planning commission I ever sat in on was February 2006. Don't ask me why I know that. And there was River Place people there, and the mayor.
I know what you're gonna talk, I know what you're gonna say.
And we were presented a plan about a boardwalk.
And also a fabric dam. Do you remember that?
And yes, and the boardwalk that we were presented would go from the bridge, Penn Street Bridge, where there would be a switchback staircase. And you could walk up to the bridge, and even like had envisioned like a statue of William Penn at the top of the bridge. And you would walk down these switchback staircases and get on this boardwalk. And you would walk along the river on this boardwalk, and there would be, you know, park benches, very well lit. And, you know, the whole river gets lit up at night and on our side of things. And then on the Reading side of things, there were other amenities to complement that as well.
Right.
They wanted us to say, okay, you know, do you like this plan in concept? And these, of course, were River Place people. So all of these plans exist, all of these envisioning ideas exist out there, yes.
It's funny that you say that because when the trolley was mentioned, one of the first things that I'm thinking of is, I remember when I went to Las Vegas and how they had the bridge to be able to get across that huge highway. So now that you're mentioning this, it like resonates with me, but having that corridor or the boardwalk to be able to get across. And I think it was Harrisburg I was in, where they have some type of boardwalk next to a river up there.
Yeah, if you've ever been to San Antonio.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Riverwalk.
Yeah.
San
I mean,
Antonio, it's
there you
like
go.
mind blowing, it's so
Like,
nice,
And that would be amazing.
yeah.
So,
But you know, of course,
Even somewhere like Newbo.
Yeah.
How does that all compare with, say, the Philly Snoop thing, the things?
I think on a much smaller scale, it's comparable. You know, if you know what he's talking about down in
Yeah,
Philly, near
right,
Penn's
right.
Landing, they basically reclaimed the riverfront down there in Philly, and it's
Right.
parks and bike lanes and, lots of people
That's
going
great.
down the
Oh,
river,
that's really
all
nice.
hours, feeling safe,
There's
Yeah.
also, and it's not like a boardwalk idea, but, Codorus Creek down that runs through York State. They're actually getting a project, so that way they're actually gonna raise the creek levels and then fix up along the riverbanks to allow people to go in there and be able to, do kayaks or whatever, and actually be able to utilize the
Sure.
creek. So even something like that, where, we make it so that people can enjoy outdoor recreation.
Right. And the recreation component to it is, like. Let's talk about Riverfront Park for a second, if you don't mind. I get a little confused sometimes because it's owned by the redevelopment authority. So, like, is the city's intention to have this be a park or to have this be a potential redevelopment site? That's where I get a little confused.
It's in a floodway, actually, which is.
Yeah.
It's gonna be built.
Right, so, and so, does it make sense, and this is just an outsider, take on it, does it make sense to incorporate it into the city's park system?
Of course.
Yes.
Because, there's technically no parking there, so I've never had seen a park that you can't park at. Are there posted signs with park rules? I don't think so, but we refer to it as a park, so I think it's confusing messaging. The people that potentially want to utilize the property. Is the intention to get it redeveloped because the authority owns it? But then, and we of course know some of the issues we've had down there with noise and gatherings or whatnot, or people, jokingly referring to it as Tennessee Beach or whatnot. But I feel like when we talk about the riverfront, it's literally on the agenda here. Okay, so you have this piece of property that's owned by a city entity. But what is, I would feel like a separate sub-plan for that good property.
It's sort of, the county's sort of the elephant that's not in this room.
Yeah.
Because under Sasaki and some of the other plans, where Stonecliff is, okay? And then you have Confluence Point Park, which we named back in 2006, and I really had a name, we started calling it that. Well, we had hoped River Place would start doing it, the administration and working with the county would have been to take everything from Stonecliff and the trails there to soccer fields. Start where the city line is with the trail near Eastern Rigging and the old Bouchon Dam, which is gonna be taken down. And then build a pedestrian bridge that connects the 19th and the 15th wards. And then with that done, everything then goes to the county along the river for exactly what you're saying, that they would have the park rangers, that it would maybe still be owned by whatever municipality, but it would become under county jurisdiction. And that was a great idea. But again, changes in administration, changes in interest, River Place falling apart for, I think, lack of management there, lack of proper management. It all just went to the side, but the concept was good. We had events at Confluence Point Park to try to get that across. People like that concept.
Yeah,
So-
our park and recreation plan, 2002 one, and then also the 2000, I think it was 18 or 20, or somewhere in that area. They both provided recommendations for improvements on those. I mean, it had
Can
to
you
look
talk about
at,
that little pedestrian
Yeah.
bridge that could be used for bicycling and everything?
and then also the integration with the county park system
Exactly.
and trail system. So yeah, there's a lot of internal coordination that it can be, but yeah, along the riverfront in the city of Reading, it is within the floodway. And it would make the perfect opportunity for park and recreation opportunities. There was discussion with having it utilized for residential as well as industrial, but yeah, it's gonna be almost impossible from a logistic standpoint to get permitted for that.
Exactly, because in Agnes, all those houses went,
20 feet underwater.
everything on Second Street,
And
on-
even in two
front.
thousand six.
yeah, 2006 was
Rack
a
was-
nightmare.
It's totally flooded.
Right. And I should also mention that we had oh boy, it was quite a few months ago, wasn't it, Jerome, when we met with New Colt? New Cold is ready, said that they have no problem with the Schuylkill Valley Trail Association or whatever it's
Schuylkill River
called.
Greenway.
Greenway, extending the trail
Right in
through there
front.
because they don't need that.
And
They
that's
don't
where
need
the
that down there.
15th ward and 19th ward
Yeah,
pedestrian
And that
bridge
would
would connect.
connect with Confluence Park.
Right,
The
exactly.
only thing we need to look for there is, the upgrade to this, sewage.
Yeah, the
That's,
force
that's something
station,
in our plan, the 19th ward pump
pump
station.
station,
Yeah,
yeah, that's down in, and
So-
there's been some
Yeah.
back and forth with the county about that.
so we just have to look for those right of ways there. But New Cold said,
Yeah, they'll do the.
New Cold said they really have no plans for down in that section.
Can we get them to build the bridge?
Discuss it, their plans coming.
Hey,
Yeah.
we got UGI to
That's
kick
right,
in
you did.
half
That's
the
right.
money to build the pedestrian
You
bridge
did.
across the Wyomissing Creek.
They wanted to dig underneath from my recollection, and obviously we're gonna run into a whole bunch of problems trying to dig underneath that creek.
Nice bridge.
So we had the county bridge that we went back and forth with them about. And, they said it wasn't theirs, it was ours. So we're like, all right, well, it's coming down then, because it could support even pedestrian traffic at that point. And even just to keep it for pedestrians and repaint it was an ungodly amount of money. And we found a different solution.
It's very nice.
Yeah, the reason why UGI paid for that, but what happened was the fact that there's a very large gas line that goes right underneath the bridge that's attached to it. So we solved their problem and our problem at the same time. It was well over $100,000 to put that pedestrian bridge in, and they coughed up half of it. So,
That's very good.
yeah, so if New Cold, I would maybe pitch it from a theoretical like security standpoint, like, listen, there's a piece of developed properties here, that's less, potential security concerns that you've got to secure your own property. If it's well lit and people are utilizing it, and trail itself, the Schuylkill River folks will tell you, or anybody that's willing to go online a little bit and do a little digging on cyclist websites and forums that rate trails. Unfortunately, the section of trail that
Oh,
goes
yeah.
through the
Oh,
city,
yeah.
I've seen it myself. The forums will say, this trail is great here, and da. When you get to this section of it that goes to city ready, just skip it. Go around it,
Yeah.
pick it
Too
up.
much security.
Just skip it.
issues. Yeah,
So that's a recreative opportunity
sure.
that we're missing. Because if you've never actually been on that trail that goes through the woods, because it literally goes through the woods. And if you were there by yourself, I'm not so sure I would do that. You're asking for a lot of potential bad things to happen.
Exactly.
Even if it was well lit, it would still be slightly odd.
It's very awesome.
I mean, you don't know. I mean, you don't know that you were literally in.
That was.
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
that was
our-
really good too.
One of our council's spouses, council member spouses was the one shot on the trail, 2:00 in the afternoon.
So that's.
He's our parking expert. by the
So,
way.
so this is gonna be, that's gonna be part of, this, all this planning, right, as far as. Yes, I have biked that section many times, I think it's way too windy and way too bumpy.
Yeah,
It's falling apart, and of course, I saw the one station where they have the sign that had been graffitied over and
Oh, yeah.
hasn't been touched for what it seems like 15 years or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
completely demolished almost,
Yeah, and there's supposed to be a little dock there that you can go out on too.
Yeah. If people believe that the recreative facilities that are being offered by the municipality are quality and they're safe, they'll use them. People will use them. But if they feel like they're isolated or they're not safe, no matter how nice you make it, they won't use
They gotta be maintained as well, which means somebody needs to own it.
it. Yeah,
Cut the grass.
Cut the grass,
yeah,
fix the signs, stuff will fall apart.
right. Yeah, and I know, working with, when that shooting did happen, we were in consultation with them, we were in consultation with the county, with the district attorney's office. By the way, that crime is not been solved yet.
And the location is that big of that.
That was technically in Kuru Township, That
Near-
little
near that
diamond.
little area, yeah.
That Coomer, it was technically Coomer Township, where he was shot by two individuals, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. By the way, they asked Google for the satellite imagery to try to track their car, and they said no.
Really?
Sometimes apparently they say yes, and sometimes apparently they say no, and in this case, they said no. So that's still, that attempted murder is still, not solved. He was in the hospital for 2 months. Wow. Yeah, 'cause he had to get steel rods in his leg.
How is he now?
It's fine. He doesn't bike anymore.
I
He can't.
guess.
So, but I feel like the riverfront, there's a lot, that it's a big weighty beast to get your arms around. But, you have the city's community college sitting right there, which is a community asset. They've got their own board and and there's portions of the property on Riverfront Drive that's owned by the college.
And it looks great. where
And
they-
it looks great, and so, but there's another weird parcel that's owned by the county. So if you look at the parcel viewer, it's very strange. You've got Ready Redevelopment Authority that owns a healthy portion of it, there's this weird little diamond that's owned by the county, and then there's other portions of it that are owned by RAC. So how to stitch that all together in some sort of comprehensive use, a plan, I'm unsure of, or whether or not parcels are transferred to one entity versus the other.
So if we wanted to do something as far as, if we kept getting, refused for plans like this, who's the higher up that we would go to for an override if we had, say, 40 people in a room and half of them experts or something like that?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's a great question, but I
Oh,
don't know.
Yeah, and I don't think any of us have the idea because there are so many municipalities tied in with this. Yeah.
No, Jamar Roth.
So that makes me, that makes me wonder.
attention.
As part of the downtown
Yeah,
plan.
that parallelogram right there, if you can see
Oh,
it,
there.
is Brack's property. That to the left, right next to the river. If you clicked on that, that's owned by RAC. And then you go down, keep going, that little diamond right there, that's owned by the county.
Make it make sense.
Yes.
And
Wow.
then the authority property kicks in. Those parcels are all the redevelopment authority.
That's so weird. I wonder why that's.
I don't know.
Is that where
Must
the
have-
railroad bridge comes up?
No, that's down farther.
that
it's
must have
down farther.
historical-
Yeah, that's right in front of Penske's, is where the redevelopment authority.
Yeah,
lot
that's
is
all
then.
RRA, yeah.
But
Wow.
for some reason, the county probably doesn't even know that they own that diamond right by the river.
And walk down there, down it.
We could get them to transfer
That's where the.
Yeah, that would be
that
nice.
to us. And also, I don't know what's happening with the redevelopment authority, but,
Join the club.
I know they're trying to get properties off their
Yeah.
books.
Well, they own probably about 5 acres sitting right there, and I don't know what their plans are for it.
Yeah,
Should we try to invite somebody from the development authority to come to the house meeting?
who's on the redevelopment authority?
I thought you said Tommy Mills.
Yeah,
Right
maybe.
there,
actually,
Tom
Tom is.
Hands, 6 feet
Yeah.
now. Wasn't on this.
Yeah, actually, maybe we should ask Tom.
I said, Walker Thompson.
Fred Thompson.
So-
Steve Yarndale. And Tommy. Lee.
So actually, I think as part of our follow-up
Vanessa.
for the riverfront, on one of our workshops, we bring in the redevelopment authority to talk about this piece of property.
That's very good.
Because,
It's very good. You should do that.
I mean, they have all the liability. So if anything tragic would ever happen down there, it'd be the redevelopment authority that would get named. Do they want that liability on their books?
It's probably under the redevelopment. I'm trying to figure out why is that under redevelopment? And
I don't know.
when the city had the 1% from new construction that went to
Fine art.
fine art, there's the piece that sits on that piece of property. There were ruins and or,
Oh, yeah, the sculpture.
right, that's probably why.
Because they needed, because it happened under the redevelopment authority, the piece needed to be on their property.
I guess that's it.
Well, that's
I
now,
think that's still possible for them to transfer it over because, there was 4 pieces of land that were transferred over from the redevelopment authority to the city this year that
Right,
have sculptures on them.
that's right.
That's right, you're
Like the
correct.
courtyard.
You're correct, you're absolutely right.
It's the
It's
courtyard,
the Cedar,
Right.
Cedar lot, or Cedar Park,
sculpture,
the courtyard, and those are the 2 that have the sculptures on them.
And there's
Right.
one sculpture that's still missing from the, here between, the Alberti and
Yes,
something got lost
and
somewhere.
yeah, and I think until that resolves with the,
right,
Yeah.
the fencing.
You're right,
Yeah.
but you're right.
It's just that if the plan is to make the riverfront recreative, I'm unsure if redevelopment authority's ownership is the best plan, because is that in their scope? Is recreative, redevelopment? I don't
Right.
think so. So why do they own it?
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why the scope.
About those sculptures, I mean, I'm sure lots of people will have experience with moving sculptures. I mean, after all, in Philly, they, the Rocky statue, I mean, this is more delicate than what the Rocky statue.
It could probably stay there.
Oh,
Just has to be.
yeah.
Especially since
I
nothing.
mean, it would be nice if they had them all together, kind of like we have art monuments at City Park. I mean, just so people could see what they all were, you know, all at once, unless there's like a trail that's going to connect them, like an art tour or something
I
like
think,
that.
I think that has been done,
Okay.
a sculpture tour, part of maybe the historic downtown. I see what you're saying, but I think maybe they have to stay where they're at because of the law, the, requirement back in the day.
Well, this can be part of our discussions when we talk about the riverfront as part of the strategic plan. Yeah, I'm really, these are a number of things that I don't think collectively we knew. And now,
I think it just comes down to a little visioning. What does the city want that riverfront to be? Do they want it to be, an area of recreation, safe recreation, to give residents of the city or the county at large an area where that they can utilize the river? Those that use the river now probably aren't maybe using it in the most safe way. So how do we get folks to enjoy the riverfront in a safer way? When, we have problems down there where the city is utilizing police resources when it may not have to. City, is that what we want? I think we want people to utilize the bike trail. Someone on a Sunday afternoon that wants to take their kids on a bike ride, should feel safe on a Sunday afternoon to go past the river on their bike. And if they don't, then that's a problem. If you have 400 people drinking beers and smoking weed and pumping music, you may not feel very safe. Whether that's justified or not, to a large degree, I think most people might not walk away with a good feeling.
I think what we could do is, we can get, this group, the, park recreation and open space plan and see what, type of recommendations are specified within that. I know our comprehensive plan is not gonna provide us much, but let's look at other relevant plans that we had, completed in the past. And we might be able to bring them forward as discussion items.
Yeah, I think we should have plans that include recreation space, green space.
Yeah.
That public space.
And we do, and they're not that old, they're, I'd say no more than 4 or 5 years old. So, let's make sure we get those plans out.
This one in particular, though, probably needs some sort of professional view to come up with a concept.
Sure.
I was what, just real, kind of like what Jamar was saying earlier, that there's money in grants that, cause I know, Bethany, our sustainability manager, she's constantly looking for grants and stuff for, sustainability efforts and other kind of recreation efforts in the city, so I'm sure there's probably lots of money, state level, federal level, where you can go in maybe do some sort of boardwalk thing, maybe do some sort of thing where, we get the Army Corps of Engineers to come in and do something, or
Yeah.
something to beautify it, to fix and make the bike trail more accessible and nicer and safer.
Well, Representative Houlihan was just here dumping a bunch of money in a fabulous new center over and over.
Right.
We've got a congressional representative who is hot on the city.
Yeah, she's great.
She, and she's good with us too, and she's always been really great with us too, so. Yes, she's in Chester County, but she's definitely demonstrated that she's willing to bring money to other constituents within her district, especially in the city, to the tune of millions of dollars. So it's not just our Harrisburg delegates, it's also our congressional representation as well, and our senators, and the governor's office. The governor's been in Berks County probably more than any other governor I can think of since they've been elected.
For all the wrong reasons.
Well, yeah,
But,
for us, but he's here for other reasons as well. He doesn't live far away. He's in Montgomery County most of the time where he lives. He's not in Harrisburg.
So he knows Berks well.
He knows Berks very
He's
well.
Commissioner Montgomery.
So you have, a sitting governor and you've got congressional representatives that are literally saying, please bring good ideas to us so that we can go to our pots of money to justify these outlays so that you can accomplish your goals. And I think it's just a golden opportunity.
But just a technical question, I guess, you all have like the grants book that the state hands out, because I have a copy of that, Manny Guzman gave it to me.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, so good call. So working for State Rep Johannes Frates, not only are there grant books that I can provide to everyone, but on top of that, we also get emails of recent grants that have just been distributed. So I can also, if anybody would like to have that, you just give me your email or tell me, and then I'll put you on the distribution list. And every time new grants come out, we can send that out. On top of that, we also have contacts at Chrissy Houlihan's office and her staff. So if there is a connection that needs to be made, please feel free to reach out to me, and I can do that in my other capacity.
I've kind of been hearing about producing the plans and things. I think there's a couple smaller projects under each of these headings, like lighting along the bypass, but I was wondering if you wanted to prioritize, like keep some of the small things, but try to prioritize we're leaving it top one gateway, but the riverfront over Penn Avenue for the time being. Or is there any discussion about Buttonwood? Like, do we want to rank these one in the comp plan, like 1, 2, 3, 4? As to what would be the priority of addressing them for the next workshop, we maybe focus on, like, an update on some of the smaller projects. Then kind of focus on, this is where we are with the riverfront.
The low hanging fruit.
So I think next time we can, we will get, some workshops together so that we can talk, the planning commission can talk about, a lot of these ideas, including, the riverfront and also, our support to get the lighting done on 422. As always, there's always so many great ideas that we, of course, we're not able to get to the entire agenda. So I just wanted to highlight two things before we close for today. And then Simon, Phil, Ryan, and the team can figure out our next date in about, this year. We're in September, right? I think it's September. December's always busy, so.
Yeah, January before,
Yeah, so would January be a good time to get back together? Sure. Okay.
That sort of all depends.
I don't make plans that far in advance usually.
Yeah. MLK Day weekend, I'm away. So like that Friday, like the 16th and 17th of January, I'm available.
Do you want to wait that long?
We could do it in November.
I'd rather see
If we-
November. I mean,
but-
it just
No,
seems
that's-
too far
Yeah,
afield.
it's okay.
think you should do it every
You
other
think-
month.
Yeah, I'm looking at, you know, a shorter time so that we don't lose the momentum.
Good.
But at the same time, we have an opportunity to look at some of the issues we have raised. And I think it will help us to keep updating each other. So something in November will be very good.
I like
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do that.
So Simon, just let us know, you're very good at reminding us.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. So at that meeting, we'll do some more details on the Penn Avenue corridor, including a plan that I have to revive the tram idea, where we were in discussion with Warda.
So I was actually gonna say, and I think I had mentioned this before about having some sort of like, and I don't know if West Reading has thought about this, about having some sort of circulator that will literally just be Penn Avenue to whatever point to Penn Street, or maybe if you can loop around, starts at the transportation center, comes around, loops down Buttonwood, and loops back around, because it all connects. So maybe some have some sort of
Yeah.
circulator bus.
It was actually one of my first thoughts when I joined council. It was one of my first, not quite pet projects, but one of the first like bigger grandiose ideas that I had was actually connecting Alvernia with Drexel, which seems like kind of selfishly, everything runs through West Reading, sure. But it connects all the college students that may or may not have, spots on campus for
And then
sure.
get over to Reading Hospital, you could do a tram double.
Yeah.
So
It was a matter of how does that get done?
So we actually do have a representative from not BARDA, but the overarching.
Rats, I'm on that too.
So, she's actually going to be coming to our workshop meeting in October.
Oh, good.
Right.
Yeah, so she'll be coming, as a little bit more educational for the new staff and commissioners, but then also I wanted to broach the idea of, like bus shelters in certain areas. And then also maybe some sort of circulator to connect West Reading with Reading.
And because the idea was we had the new executive director of the Parking Authority join us for one of our workshops. And we were talking about how it might be beneficial to have people who are dining in West Reading but are going to the arena, that they could park at Front in Washington because there's more than enough space there, and they are working on trying to get that fixed. Unbelievable problems with them down there, that they're working on.
The parking garage.
Yeah.
There's elevator.
But if we could get-
elevator issues a lot.
Yeah, one of the things the parking authority mentioned to us is that they can't keep the elevators fixed because they have 3 different companies that manage the elevators.
I thought there was only one elevator company, Otis.
Good
thing that every elevator.
No, and apparently each company has their own like trademark or something on the elevator, so only they can work on it.
Yeah, it's a big mess that we're trying to work through with them. Peter Rye was very much instrumental in that talk.
Well, I suppose there isn't a way where we could just completely replace the elevators with something new, but
So that was required quite a bit of money, so we would, check that out.
One thing that I can throw in, Mr. Chairman, is that the parking authority at this point, even after our discussion here, they are very open to new ideas and they're very receptive on how they can improve the services related to parking. At this point, as we start thinking about how we can collaborate in that area, I think they would welcome feedback, especially from the community and especially users of some of the spaces. That will really help them, because at this point, they're also having a plan they're working on. And I think any feedback will help them to improve the services.
Just keep putting in the lines. Block by block, keep putting in the lines.
It's helped my neighbors.
Going.
And then, the other, discussion for next time would be the Buttonwood Gateway. one thing that Simon, Jerome, and I have been batting around again is the Bricktown redevelopment project, which covers Buttonwood Street
Yeah.
on our side of the river.
Do you guys still have plans for?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
In fact, we called Lee Olson the other day. I think Lee and Simon met for lunch the other day. Yeah, because I called Lee and I said, can you help us? And he's like, yeah, no problem. So
What are the boundaries?
it's, let me see, Washington Street up to Buttonwood Street, the riverfront up to, I think it's Third Street, might be Fourth. Third. So, and
It's
of
not a
course,
huge
this
river.
is also in Chris's district. He would be very much interested in this, because when that was initially thrown out, you know, there was quite a bit of work done on it, and then all of a sudden, nothing happened.
Sorry,
What's the name?
the family, the Rick family, they were, hardware.
Yep, their plant was Third and Buttonwood.
And there's a Rick row of houses on Center Avenue in Reading as well, because all the father built the houses for all the son.
There were four brothers.
Four
They
brothers.
built four identical houses. Three still exist. One was demolished. They're
Right near
substantial.
Calvary, Mississippi, between that and Overland.
So those were the, so that's kind of like the overview on what Alexa, I think we might be able to cover. And then we'll also circle back and talk about the riverfront and let you know what we have discovered in there. Yeah, during that.
That's been bubbling for like 2 years while we had the whole, riverfront stuff back in West Reading, and we did a very deep dive into all the parcels along the riverfront at that time, so happy that it's.
Yeah,
finally coming
Ryan and I
back
are
after the
like-
last 2 years.
The expert, I could literally tell you who owns every parcel.
We get into the weeds a bit,
Well, that's-
kindred spirits in that way,
Part of the deal.
Yeah,
the nuts and bolts.
yeah, and I would recommend, I'm unsure, the whole breakdown. I remember that, but it's been a while since
Like it was during Tom
Yeah.
Hanson.
Yeah, Norfolk Southern and their rights of way on that side of the, from Bowen Street Bridge north. They've got a bunch, and Med does as well, a bunch of rights of way down there, so I would look at that. Because a lot of times we found, we're talking Norfolk Southern right now, that we want to get the railroad bridge repainted for Southwest Reading. And that was, we had an agreement with them 20 years ago to do that. We had to like literally pull it out, dust it off, look at that again and say, hey, this is what we signed with you 20 years ago. You remember? They said, no. Then, well, your signatures are all over it. Oh, okay, sure, let's take a look. So we're slowly making progress on that to get that redone. They own bits of land all up and down those sides of the river. And they even fought us and said, we don't own that anymore. We had to go to court a couple of years ago to prove to them that they owned it, because they denied owning it. And they said, well, I guess we do own it. Would you buy it for $1? Because they didn't want it. So they might have little snippets of parcels where they don't even want it anymore, because their real estate department doesn't know what they own anymore, because they've owned it since 1876 or whatever, or it's been chopped up and there's like one little bit of it that they forgot that they still own, and you want to do something there and they don't know, and the real estate department folks don't know. It's a very Byzantine, railroads are very Byzantine organizations to have to deal with. Because they will quote laws from the 1800s all day long about their rights. But I would look at that. I would have someone on staff perhaps look at the parcels over by the Bricktown. Because I think it's I think the Buttonwood, I'm encouraged. I want to talk about the Buttonwood Gateway.
Because there's a lot of good things happening.
There's a lot of good things happening. There's a lot of opportunity and potential there. It's not just Penn Street. We've got another bridge, that we can work on and bring some positivity and opportunities from an economic development standpoint. I feel like that's a corner of the city that has been sort of forgotten a little bit and kind of tucked away there. And
But things are getting better.
but things are getting definitely better.
Totally. getting better.
Yeah,
Worst neighborhood.
some of those neighborhoods are pretty hairy, unfortunately.
They were, but they're not.
They're not
Yeah.
anymore. It's
It's come a long way.
Oh,
Yeah, and that, and we should keep going, right? We should keep going. So.
All right, I will, I thank Ryan and Bill for joining us again. And we look forward to seeing you sometime in November. Yeah. And.
Wayne, this is Will.
Yeah, well,
I just wanted to say I appreciate that the street lights on the West Shore bypass being out was brought up this evening. And it is a serious problem. I had brought this to Public Works' attention last year within the context of a broader problem of the street lights in the city. So I just wanted to make a note. It's something I think we on the Ready side should follow up on and address it in similar issues. So if we would make a note, please. In addition to all the collaborative work, which I very much appreciated, there's some things we need to do on our side as well in this regard.
very good. Very good. We have two pieces of business to take care of.
Sure.
So,
We'll excuse ourselves.
You're welcome to stay. It'll be-
yeah, you're welcome to stay. It'll be very quick. but-
Friday night.
Got it.
Tempting.
Talk about
Tempting.
the Montgomery Street farm down there.
Holy Trinity.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick around for that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
So,
because
it's
that's an interesting.
That one is just a time extension.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're not, it's not an actual review or anything, they're,
They still have several hurdles to get through.
How many, they've had multiple extensions, correct?
Well, they got street dedications, or
easements from Burr Township and
easements for,
the county conservation.
and a PDS permit,
And a road vacancy, right?
road vacation. So they
So,
got,
so they've had multiple extensions.
yeah, they got lots of things to do.
But they have a lot of things to do. I mean, it took the county months to do their portion.
That was the park portion.
Because they're near the trail there.
Yeah, and they had a stormwater discharge into that location. So that took a long time just to get that. They got an NPDS permit. That'll take a long time. The only thing that they don't have is a PennDOT HOP. The only thing I think that they,
Are they capitalized to be able to move forward? 'Cause that's an enormous project.
it is.
That's an enormous project. I think it's the last farm in the city. It's not farmed, but it is technically a farm.
The one on, Spring Street, Bridge Street? No,
Bridge Street, yeah.
That one.
That's not a farm now.
House and barn,
Yeah.
barely.
Yeah.
So anyway, no guarantees on the success of the project. Like I said, they still have numerous things to cross, and they're out of our scope. The only thing that's in our scope is the planning module that they need for summer.
And the city's the street vacation. for the city.
Yeah. Street vacations, yes. There's three of them.
Yes.
I expected that they should proceed with that, because that's not as difficult as the NPDS permits.
Especially the street vacations, Montgomery,
There's three or four.
they must be paper streets. 'Cause
Yeah, they are.
all I can see
Yeah,
is
they're all paper
Montgomery
streets.
as an
Yeah.
address there.
Yeah, they're all paper.
They're all
streets.
paper.
Yeah, Monroe, I think is one of them.
Yeah, I think there's three.
And, yeah, I would have to look at the plan again.
Yeah, I'm thinking down there.
But they're paper streets that need to be vacated. Because Public Works occasionally comes to us and it's like, you know what, there's a street there.
Sewer right away that for the Burn Township Municipal Authority
Cause it's right,
relocated.
wow. This is a huge project.
It is.
Yeah, it's huge.
I feel bad for them in a way if they knew everything that was in front of them.
They probably looked at the property and said, yeah, I see it.
Yeah, I think I'd be like, thanks, but maybe there's someplace else.
But they do try to keep in contact with us. You know, we're not going to turn them away.
Oh, no,
What are
I'm
they
not
trying to
saying
do?
that. I'm just curious
Sure.
because
Oh.
it's gone on for
Yeah.
how many years now?
Yeah. But
I hear a
that's-
lot from folks down that way, like what's happening, what's going on.
Right. Yeah, and that's what it is. It's all these groups. And all of this.
It's my old district, so I'm still in touch with everybody.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so, it's one of those things where it just, every step just seems to take months.
Mark, so that's all that you're doing with that.
Yeah, just a reaffirmation.
Now timing, church time extension, Walnut Street reaffirmation.
Oh, yeah, the time extension, the reaffirmation. For that, so, with that, Nelson's still with us?
Yep.
Great. Okay, with that, do I hear a motion to reaffirm the land development plan for 615, 619 Walnut Street? Yeah, James, second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris. Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Here, 1, 2, 3. Geez, we're all here today. On a Friday even. Very good. And then, do I hear a motion to grant a?
What?
Oh,
they asked-
so they requested a time extension until next June 25th of 2025.
June 25th.
And that is, please our meeting. Yeah, we meet on this, if we stick with the same schedule, we meet on the 20th.
Okay, do I hear a motion to grant a time extension to the Holy Trinity, that's what type of church it is, the Holy Trinity Church on Montgomery Street, until June 25th, 2025? Peter,
So move.
second, Dan? Okay, good. Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Just real quick for the reaffirmation, I do have the plans here for you guys to sign, so please sign them before you leave. And then Nelson and Will, if you can just coordinate with me when you can come into the office to sign them.
If they can't make it in, they'll do.
Okay.
Who was president?
Okay.
Monday.
So just, I just need theirs? Oh, okay, then never mind.
As long as you have a majority.
Okay, I thought we needed everyone that.
I mean, if they can come in, but if not,
Okay.
you have a majority.
Great.
All right.
Okay. Once again, thank you everyone for a very successful meeting. I
Yeah.
think we all learned something
Yep.
today.
Mm-hmm.
So, I look forward to the next one in November. I hope.
Can it not be a Friday night?
They requested Friday.
That's
Well,
my,
November
that's my
we
only
can find
request.
out better.
Friday
We'll find
nights,
out.
spouses get a little crazy.
Yeah,
Mine doesn't.
We can work something out.
yeah. What's that?
Also to adjourn.
Oh, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
So move.
Peter?
Second.
Chris?
Before we do.
Chris,
Okay.
get him on the work call every once in a while. Okay, we're all those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Good night. Aye.
Break up for.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.